Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. And I am really looking forward to today's conversation. I can't believe we haven't actually had this before on the podcast, Joe, but I am joined today by Jo Weatherall, who is a coach for women dealing with menopause, mayhem, and teens. Which I think that beautiful stage in life where everybody's emotions are all up in the shit.
Mayhem.
Total mayhem, not just yours, but your kids at the same time. So we're just going to go with the flow of our conversation today and see where it takes us. But Joe, do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself, like how you got here, maybe your journey?
Yeah. Because I think the thing with um where I am now is that's what's happened throughout my journey is that I've always been doing where I something to do with where I was sort of like at that time. So let me
Yeah,
start from the beginning.
start from the beginning.
So back in the day, my career is hairdressing
Yeah.
and mobile. So I was going out round to people's houses. And more often, when I first started, it was people direct to me. So it was people that I knew. But then as I grew, it was people that they knew and people that it was the person that I knew and it was their next door neighbor's brother and stuff like that. And it kind of grew and grew and grew. And so I was actually going around to people's houses that I didn't know.
Mhm.
And this was back in the day when there was no mobile phones and
Yeah.
back in that day. And
Yes.
so my husband got quite nervous that I was going to people's houses that I didn't know. And being like a young chick then in my 20s, he thought I was quite vulnerable.
Mhm.
And so he signed me up for a self-defense class. And it was just a 6 week course to learn how to defend yourself if you were in that sort of situation of, being sort of vulnerable. Anyway, I loved the course. And I ended up joining the it was a karate based self-defense course. So I ended up
Okay.
joining the academy, Wadaru Karate Academy, and then going to classes and then competing and getting my down grade and really enjoying that whole avenue of I don't know what it was. It was almost channeled aggression. I didn't know that I was like an
Yeah.
aggressive person,
Yeah.
but it was channeled, and I just loved it. And I loved the whole competing side of it. I loved the mindfulness side of it because it was very traditional. It was a traditional Japanese martial art.
Yeah.
And it got to the point, which was quite amusing, that I was going home practicing it on my husband, and he then joined because he had to defend himself against me. So it
Love
was.
it.
So we both then sort of kind of went through that journey of doing our martial art together, and then going on courses, going on competitions, traveling quite far and wide because I used to do competitions, international competitions. So it was really lovely that we were able to do something together.
Yeah.
Because his sport was triathlons as well
Okay.
as doing the martial art. So um, then after sort of like to kind of getting more downgrades, so I actually then got up to a level 3 downgrade. um it was then our time to then have children. We were married for 13 years before we had children, but it kind of didn't fit well competing and looking a little bit beaten up, and also just the training that I had to do anyway. And
Yeah.
actually physically with your body you can't fight when you're you know pregnant.
Yeah.
And so I stopped competing, but I carried on training, and
Mhm.
I had my children, both 2 years apart, Izzy and then Oscar, and they were 2 years like apart. So I'd finished the competing, um, but I then felt that there was a real demand for women getting back into fitness after
Mm.
having children. And so
Yeah.
I then started a fitness class for women that were at school gates, basically. It was just those women that just had to have kids around them. We had to have kids there. And it was basically just doing a fitness program for bodies that had been kind of wanted to be fit, but you had children and you had to fit in with your time, things like that. So
Yeah.
that was that kind of like little avenue in my life. And then as the kids started to get and went to school, they were in the sort of like kind of round about sort of like I suppose 6, 7, 8, that sort of that year, which I suppose is the first main school, the junior school.
Yeah.
Um, I recognised the fact that then they needed a bit of confidence building, not particularly them, but maybe other children as well that were in their classes. May you could just see that some were needing a little bit of confidence boosting. So,
Yeah.
and actually, the class that I started then for children was a karate class for children, but it was also confidence building and anti-bullying, which was quite
Brilliant.
like a huge thing, really. I just felt really passionate about anti-bullying. I just didn't
Mm.
like it at all. So then that was my next phase. So I had this kids class that was confidence for kids. And then obviously my kids, then they went up to a certain grade, not a downgrade. They didn't get the downgrades because it's quite a lot of commitment. And it's also it's the syllabus. So it was quite hard for them to do while they're at schools.
And can I just check something? When you
Yeah.
say downgrade, so my
Yeah.
husband is a black belt in judo.
Yeah.
That's once you get to black belt, then it's
Yeah.
first dan, second dan,
Yeah.
second. So for the
Yeah.
people that, those of us that know the belts, we're talking badass black belt and
So
up.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
yes. So
cool.
it's
Yeah.
so you go through your coloured belts, and
Yeah.
then it's all syllabus based, So not only are you doing your syllabus for your fitness, and then learning the new punches or kicks or arrangements, which is kata.
Yeah.
You're also learning your mindfulness and
Yeah.
your reactions and your responses to things, and
So
how
good.
you how how you hold yourself, how you manage yourself in
Yeah.
a situation.
Yeah.
So that's also to do with, it's not just to do with fighting, it's to do with your whole management of situations, and
Yeah.
in not just in a fighting situation or a karate situation, just in life. So it's
Yeah.
very much takes on a lifestyle rather than just a competing sport.
Mm. Yeah.
So it is a lifestyle, and that's how the Japanese they're very much about their cultural lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, and so then my children, they went off in different directions for sport. We're a very sporty family, and also what I didn't say was that when I started, when we had the children, obviously we couldn't both go to the same sport,
Yeah.
like because it was a club, in the evening and stuff. So my husband just carried on then doing his triathlons, and then I carried on doing the karate, which is why we kind of like went different avenues of sport,
Yeah.
but both every weekend there was some sort of sport going on, so the kids came along with us. So it's just
Yeah.
their lifestyle again of being active and being sporty, but they went off into completely different avenues of sport anyway, which was lovely. It was great. But I'll come to that in a bit. But then it then took on, so that was that phase, but then it took on their teen sort of like kind of age. And not only was it their sort of like kind of teenage, it was when they were teenagers. My next phase was then doing self-defense for teenagers, which
Yeah.
was a very different thing than youngsters.
Yeah.
So I also then had classes that were self-defense for teenagers, not specifically just girls, but it was predominantly girls. But then also we brought along the mums to get involved as well, because it was very important for the mums to know that the girls were able to have that defense, and knew
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
what to look out for, and were confident, were
Yeah.
just actually confident in themselves. And it wasn't just all about that image of confidence, it was that feeling of confidence. People
Yes.
look very different from the inside if they're confident inside.
Yeah.
It's not, it's very much nowadays about, people think it's about how you look, but very much feeling confidence is a big thing.
Yeah.
And then recognizing when there's perhaps trouble that you need to avoid, or those little signs of things that are being said, or how
Mm.
to respond to them, again, the response and reaction thing. So that was that little phase. And then obviously myself, going through different things. I then, as I got older, and then when I got to the age of 47, and my children were then sort of like kind of well into their teens, and things were sort of kind of flying around emotionally wise, I knew at that age things were changing in my body. Things were not
Yeah.
only changing in my body shape and the way my body reacted to sports and things that I was doing, but it also changed in my mental feeling towards myself. And I recognized that it didn't feel right for me. It felt very foreign for me to feel anything other than feeling confident or feeling that I was in control of how my body was acting to different foods or to different sport or to different things that were being said to me, or how I would respond and react.
Mm.
And I asked friends, schoolgate friends, and that they would kind of almost kind of shut me off and not want to know about what I was going through. But later I realized that it was because they were going through the same things, and that was obviously now I know, sort of like kind of 10 years on, I know that it
Yeah.
was, perimenopause, and that I was sort of like kind of my body was starting to change, and
Yeah.
that wasn't just my body physically, that was my body mentally as well.
Yeah.
So that was where I then started looking into things a little bit more about how I could change things in my lifestyle to help my body, help me get through that phase. And that's where I started with Menopause Mayhem in Teens, because I then started helping my friends and sort of saying and recommending them to do things, to do how to do their exercises rather than do an exercise that we used to do, how to change that and do more resistance work, more weight work for muscle mass, and more mindfulness. There's so much more. I mean, I used to meditate anyway and used to bookend my day with mindfulness, but it was very much I had to take it on board practically as all throughout the day, just to
Yeah.
keep my body kind of grounded and to keep me uh, I guess to keep me calm, to keep me flowing as a normal functioning human being,
Yeah.
rather than this, kind of person that I didn't recognize.
Mm.
Um, and when I sort of started helping my friends, they then sort of said, "Oh, look, you need to do this, and you need to sort of like help others,
Yeah.
and it needs to be something that you're doing as you've done all your other things." And so I did. So that's when I sort of kind of started up Menopause Mayhem in Teens, and started doing groups for women and talks, and really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I kind of almost feel like I'm then kind of going through another phase now, and I'm almost excited about what that's kind of like gonna bring now. So
Yeah.
so I definitely think it's definitely your golden threads in life bring you to where you are and what you're doing like now. I mean, I still do
Yeah.
I've still got my career. I still do my hairdressing. So I still obviously, superfluous chit chat. You could talk to me about anything, and
Yeah.
I'd have a conversation about it. But very much enjoying sort of like kind of helping women and do those sort of kind of, do the things that I can see makes a difference to their lives. And because
Yeah.
I've done it and been through it,
Mm.
I just want them to know that there is another side. There
Yeah.
you do come through it.
You do
And
come through that. I think that's really important to know, isn't it? So, on the hair front, if you're
mm,
listening to this on audio, just give yourself permission to come and look on YouTube because Joe's hair is gorgeous.
oh, it's a bit massive, and yeah,
It's just so
it's
gorgeous. It's worth coming and seeing it in
yeah,
realsies.
just having
But
to.
I would quite like to dive a little bit deeper into what you said about your body feeling foreign. And I
Yeah.
think that's really interesting because that kind of implies that you had an awareness about your body in first of all to know that it was
Yeah.
changing. And I feel like so many of us are quite disconnected from our body that we wouldn't know
Mm.
whether it was different or not. So can you just tell us a little bit more about that process, how that was for you?
Yeah, well, I think stemming from my sporting career, when we used to fight, we
Mm.
used to have to do it by weight category.
Okay.
So it was very much. a part of knowing exactly how you put on weight, how you where your body holds the weight, how your body reacts to injury, how your body responds if you've been training up to a certain point of having a competition, how your body needs, how much rest your body needs, how much sleep you can function on, how, hydration, um, how much your body needs in order to feel great. Because there are times when you go, actually, well, you don't go, actually, I feel great, because you're not thinking about your body's function. You're just
Yes.
getting on with it, and everything
Yeah.
else seems great in your life because you're enjoying that, you're enjoying going out, you're enjoying going walking, you can pick up on any sport you want, you can you don't overthink about getting on the floor, standing up again. You don't think about these things because your
Yeah.
body is great. If your body then starts to change and it takes you longer to get up, or actually, no, I can't do that sport because my joints are starting to ache, or
Yeah.
actually, do you know what, I'm waking up and I don't even feel like I've been to sleep. I feel knackered as soon as I wake up. um you're you're craving for things because you don't know what you've eaten, but you're still craving for food. All of those little different things. It's
Mm.
those things that you need to. And I journal, and I say to my ladies as well, journal everything. When you're getting the cravings, when you're tired, when you ache, when you feel like you can't be bothered. Which sometimes, some of my ladies will just sort of say, yeah, well, that's all the time. They just say, oh, I just can't be asked. That's what they say. I
Yeah.
can't be
Yeah.
asked. And it's just such a horrible feeling. But those are the things you need to recognize, because
Mm.
there's reasons for those. There's reasons for all sorts. There's anything that you feel, there's reasons for it. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that when you're not feeling anything in your body, and your body's flowing because you're full of hormones and you're full of vigor and you're ready for anything. Usually, like, your 20s and 30s, you don't even think about it, do you? You just do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
That's how feeling great feels. You forget that because you're honing in on all your different symptoms that are coming in and your ailments. And but if you've worked out why they're there, and you've worked but more often than not, it's because of that depletion in hormone
Yeah.
in women. So but to monitor those things is really crucial. And that's why I say that even in your 20s and 30s, monitor your body, like, write things down. Because from teens, we're us women, we have our cycles. Monitor things. You might need more sleep, you might need some more restorative time in your cycles.
Yeah.
Try to monitor these things, and how much more of something you need for your body
Mm.
to feel better. Just a cup of tea for
Oh, that's nice. Thank
me.
you.
um so it's very important to know, one, how you feel when you feel great. And it's very important to know, if there's something happening in your body,
Mm.
how to control it and how to respond to it, and how your body will respond if you do something
Yeah.
to help it. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean, that I felt foreign, is the fact that I was so in control of my body because of having to be in control of my body. Because I used to have to, it was quite funny when we had the weigh-ins. The whole point of being a certain weight is that you want to be at the top of that weight category, because you're sort of like on a, it's a better place to be. So we used to get to a point where we would have to, we would run off our fluid in our body for the weigh-in, and then the next day was the fight, and you're sort of like back again, piling the food, and your weight's different then, but you've
Yeah.
got it down to, so I knew exactly what I needed to eat, exactly what I needed to drink, exactly how much sleep I needed, what I needed to do to feel flexible enough, to feel emotionally strong enough to be on the mat. I knew all of that. But then to take that through into one of my courses is um, self-defense against menopause. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
against you
Yeah.
and your menopause. Because it is almost like you're defending you're you're defending against it, you know. But if you're in control of it and you know everything about your body already, you're already a step ahead.
Yeah.
It's about kind of being prepared, you know. And if you're doing anything, if you're doing a sport, if you're doing a talk, if you're doing a presentation, if you're anything that you're doing, you know, a wedding, whatever, you plan it, don't you?
Yeah.
You put the plan in action, you train for something, you do your presentation over and over and over again, so that when it
Mm.
comes to do it, you just do it and it flows and it's natural and it's almost um second nature to you. But that's
Yeah.
exactly how you want you to be when you come through that phase of your life. Now, I knew for sure if I was in control of my body and I knew exactly how my body was going and worked, and I was struggling, I
Mm.
knew that women who didn't know and hadn't journaled and wasn't in control of that, they would probably be struggling a little bit more, which is
Yeah.
where I'd sort of say, you know, that let's start from the beginning. Let's, you know, it's easy. You will get there. Let's just monitor some things out. Let's just plan it, and you know, you'll start learning more about yourself now because you have to, than you ever did.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of, I do call it as self like as assessment. It is
Yeah.
assessment.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think with that awareness, you can then start to work with your body rather than against it. So I know for me, so I'm 49 this year and I'm in my perimenopausal phase. I'm still cycling regularly, but
mm,
I really notice because I've been paying attention, I really notice a fluctuation in my energy and not just my like emotional energy, but my physical energy. Like there are days when at the start of my period, like when estrogen is high, I'm able to hold plank like easily for 30 seconds to a minute. But get close to the end of the month when progesterone is high, it's a struggle to even stay in plank for a couple of seconds. And
yeah,
had I not been like looking at that and going, well, what could I do yesterday with fascination? Because I think that's the problem. A lot of us do it with judgment, and no one wants to open up to a judgy bitch, do they?
yeah,
But if you do it with absolute fascination and curiosity, then you can start to work with your natural cycles
yeah,
rather than trying to work against them. And I think that's what
exactly.
so many of us are trying to do, especially women, especially when we were younger.
Yeah,
Women in business, I see this massively. We try and keep going at the same level all the way through the month. And we're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
no, I should be able to do this, and I should be able to, and I should be this, and I should be. But we actually cannot sustain that kind of level. And then we wonder why we get so tired. Whereas
yeah,
if we are able to go, okay, so like, so for example, because I focus on my and I do that from a feasting and a fasting perspective, which is what got me into being more aware of my cycles. I didn't have any clue before that. Um, then it's like, okay, well, if I've got this big presentation or this big event, and it happens to fall on a time when when progesterone's high,
mm,
I'm going to know that that is going to be just a little bit more challenging energetically and physically than if estrogen was high. I don't
yeah,
use that as an excuse
no,
to let myself off the hook and eat a like load of chocolate. But I do use that as a way to have compassion with myself. So in that moment, it sounds a bit like, okay, Nikki, we know this is a bit more of a challenge. I plan in a lot more rest,
yes,
and that's how I work with it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just think we like that conversation doesn't really happen that much. I mean, it's interesting when you said about the ladies at the school gate didn't want to talk about it. There
yeah,
doesn't seem to be that kind of open conversation in women in the workplace until it
yeah,
gets to a point where it's quite dramatic and you have really severe menopausal symptoms. And then you just think
yeah.
everything's wrong with you and you leave work. And that's not an
No,
alternative either, I don't think.
no, I think that the whole point of that is that they don't want to talk about it is because they haven't got the energy to talk about
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
also because if you know what, you know, you're not going to want to share with people your struggle, and that's what women don't do. They kind of feel like, oh, she's holding her shit together, I can't be seen to be not.
Yeah.
holding it together. And it's just such a shame that that has to be like that, because, oh no, because obviously everyone's cycle's different. So
Yeah.
when one's strong, another one's sort of not going to be. And so that if you understand it, like you just understand it, and you've got it journaled, you know
Yeah.
yourself, you could, and somebody says to you, oh look, Nick, is there any chance that you can do something on that date? And you can look and go, actually, it's not going to be a good time for me. So, I'll
Yeah.
ask someone else. Or well, as long as or if even if you have to do something at that time,
Yeah.
because sometimes in workplaces, you have to, right? Okay, you're doing that on that day. Okay, fair enough. I'm doing that on that day. So the 3 days before that, I'm in bed by 9. I'm asleep,
Yeah.
by
Yes.
9:30. I'm hydrated,
Yeah.
electrolytes are topped up, I've eaten well, and
Yeah.
everything else around that is all built up for you to be able to perform when your levels aren't brilliant, but you've done
Yeah.
everything else. Whereas if you're still running late, going to bed late, and you're not hydrating, you're not keeping your energy levels topped up, and if you're not setting yourself up, you
Mm.
are going to struggle more. And so the best thing to do is to know that that's going to be a struggle that day. If it's not going to be the struggle that day, obviously all those things, if it's in a lifestyle, if it's in your lifestyle to do that, then that's great. That, because you do tend to sort of like find that you kind of do sell through a
Yeah.
little bit easier with things. But it is about planning, assessing, and giving yourself that care and giving yourself that time,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and even those little things people do sometimes sort of say, oh no, meditation's not for me, or well, it might not be, but sit and read a book, or
Yeah.
sit and read some pages of a book, not a book, but just sit down and read, or just sit down and listen to something lovely on a podcast or something,
Yeah.
just to
Or
give
if,
yourself that, just to stop.
yeah. Or if you're used to moving and you don't think you can sit still, tapping
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
havening, it feels weird to begin with, but it doesn't have to be. It can be an active relaxation, can't it? It doesn't have to
absolutely, yeah,
necessarily be. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love sitting and just
yeah,
watching the trees blowing around in the wind and
yeah,
my
yeah,
brain wander. I
yeah,
fucking love that.
yeah,
But I've trained myself to not listen to oh, I should be cleaning, I should be cooking, I should be tidying, I should be
yeah,
doing everything else but this.
yeah.
But some
And also,
people, will sit, tap, sit, or
yeah,
don't sit, walk, go for a walk, but allow your brain to listen to the birds,
yeah, yeah,
listen to, like, look at what's around you.
yeah. I think there's also with not doing,
Yeah.
there's a guilt attached, because like you just said then, oh,
Yeah.
I should be cleaning it, I should be, there's so much stuff for everybody to do
Always.
all of the time.
Yeah.
So yes, we could be doing stuff all of the time, but even if you're going, taking the dog out or going for a little walk, or you're doing something, it is just giving yourself that time to breathe and
Yeah.
relax your sort of central nervous system, that's going to be heightened anyway, because one, your levels aren't brilliant, and also if you've got something coming up, you always do sort of kind of tend to feel that little sort of like anxiety feeling, which that's
Mm.
another thing. As soon as you're in the menopause phase, your levels are so different that which again, being in that position in my life to have been able to train into that fight or flight um, feeling, I if you're in that all the time, and your cortisol levels are telling you there's something wrong, something wrong, something wrong, you have to learn how to go, actually, there isn't anything wrong, you're fine. And that is crucial, to not be in that state of like, oh my gosh, my gosh, gosh, be like that the whole time, because it's very difficult to then tell yourself that everything's going to be fine. um I mean, I even found that although I'd practiced that for years and years and years, I still found that a struggle. And I'd done a thing. I mean, I used to bite my cheek, bite my cheek
Yeah,
like that all the
I do
time.
that.
Like that. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I really do need to get this under control. I'm going to eat through my own cheek.
Yeah.
It was getting that bad. But it was again training myself, sort of say, I only knew when it was happening. So, but I monitored the fact that, okay, I know when it happens, and when I find myself happening, I need to do this,
Yeah.
and all sorts of things had happened. I know we weren't going to talk about this, but also, so when bigger things happen,
Yeah.
it almost feels like it's even more heightened, and
Yeah.
those responses can feel even worse.
Yeah.
And I was traveling a lot up and down, going back to sort of kind of see mum and dad and stuff, and in that journey, that sort of like kind of hour and a half journey, that was when I was going like that, bite my cheek and that. So I then used to put a toothpick in my mouth and just have that toothpick in between my teeth so that I didn't have to bite my cheek. But those
Yeah.
are the things that I needed to find to do, and now I don't do it because things have calmed down a lot more. But in those heightened times of things happening, it is that mayhem.
Yeah.
There are things that happen, either with teens or your elderly parents, or things in life that happen, that are those heightened times that you do
Yeah.
really have to work on yourself.
Mm.
In those times, if you've got all that monitoring and you've got loads of other things in place, it makes those times shorter and easier to get through.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen that
Yeah.
this recently, that I'm so glad that I've had this backup that I've had,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I haven't sailed through it, but I've got through it, and I don't compare at all, but I can see the ones that haven't done that.
Yeah.
I know that things get a lot worse,
Yeah.
and so you have to have things in place for ready. You're ready.
Yeah. It's kind of a prevention, isn't it, rather than the cure? So but having
Definitely.
the courage, and I think for some of us, it does take a lot of courage to look at ourselves and look at our brain and look at our
Yeah,
habits and
yeah,
behaviors. And but once we acknowledge and become aware of them, then we get more control over them.
yeah,
And and it's starting off with the kind of insignificant, what appears to be really insignificant, like biting your lip or
yeah.
having that glass of wine in the evening, or
Mm,
whatever the habit is. It
mm,
appears insignificant, but when you actually start to look at it, learning how to have that skill at the small things,
yeah,
like you said, then when life happens and significant life changing or life altering events happen to us,
yeah,
it means then that we don't have to add the extra layer of drama on top.
yeah,
And that's what it is for me. It's like, okay, this really shit thing's happening, and it's appropriate to feel sad or horrified or
mm,
whatever.
mm,
Do I want to add the extra layer of drama and shit on top? And I think
mm.
that's when, having that mind management, having that kind of emotional resilience, having learned the skill of looking at yourself and learning about yourself is actually what makes those times smoother, like the hard times smooth, because they're going to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Life
life.
does. Yeah,
Life happens.
yeah,
And it's not about avoiding them, it's having the skills to see them through
yeah.
without, for me, without the extra layer of drama.
Extra. Yeah, yeah. And also without the self-destruction,
Yeah.
because it can escalate, and then everything then piles on top, and you can something if something happens and you have a reaction to it, it's how you respond to that reaction,
Yeah.
and if you can take that to a point of understanding that you don't want to be in that self-destruction, and and about being in control of yourself, because you can't be in control of all the other things. You can't be in control of other people's reactions. You can't be in control of environmental things or other things that are actually happening, but try and control just you and your aura. It
Mm.
is you have that ripple effect then, because if you feel like you're in control, a lot of other things then don't feel so bad.
Yes.
So it's that ripple effect, definitely, for yourself. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that happens in with your teens.
Yeah.
It something's happening at the time, and you go oh, like that. Don't you react, but don't respond straight away. Just right,
Yeah.
let it happen, let it happen, let it happen. You go and calm yourself down, breathe, do whatever you need to do,
Yes.
and whether it's a day later, whether it's an hour later, whether it's a week later, then respond to it, because it'll be completely different than
Yes.
responding then, and it just all escalating and then becoming that
Yeah.
drama.
Yeah.
Just step away and control your bit, and then come back in again when everything's kind of controlled, and your reaction will be so different.
Yeah.
So
It's like that
you'll respond to
golden
it.
Yeah, your response. It's that golden moment, isn't it? When you get to catch yourself, breathe, take a pause, whether that pause is minutes, hours, days, weeks.
Mm, mm,
Pause and go, right, let me choose very deliberately,
mhm.
actually, the most effective way to deal with this.
Yeah.
And
And that's not just with your home life. That could be work, that could be
absolutely,
anything. You know, you
everything.
get an email from someone, you're like,
Yeah,
like that, you're raging, aren't you? And you're typing away and all sorts of stuff's coming out. And just don't press send. You know,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna leave it now. I'm gonna go and breathe, I'm gonna go and walk, I'm gonna well,
yeah,
even if you know, and then you'll probably just wipe that. You well, actually, do you know, I'm not gonna send that, you know, because
yeah,
own it, you know, just that's fine. You say
yeah,
that if you like, and then you can respond with something completely different because you're in a better aura, you feel better yourself. So
yeah.
definitely about yeah, leave it.
Yeah, so good.
So
So,
completely.
how old are your children now, Joe?
Yeah, so 21 and 23. So
Yeah,
they yes, and they and I think as well because of how I mean you never know, do you? Because you haven't got, you know, like a book of how to bring them up and things like that. But the things that we'd done with them sort of kind of sport wise and just mindfulness wise, you know, they sort of like kind of they've done meditations from a very young age that's what I used to do. And they used to sit there and you know, think it was quite well, they just thought it was normal actually. They they one think everybody had done sport like we did,
yeah,
and which was quite funny at times, just because obviously it was um it some of the things that they would say at school about mum fighting. Mum, you know, what did you do at the weekend? Yeah, we watched mum fight. And nothing else, you know, like that, because they didn't know that
something we need to, yeah,
everybody else's mum didn't fight. Um, but even just not even just that, but even just the things like they've all I've always ever cut their hair, and but they thought that everybody's mum only cut their children's hair
yeah,
until, you know, such an age that they can understand. Um, but now they've got very good endurance and mind practice in their own sport.
brilliant.
So Isabella does long distance swimming,
Yeah,
and you know, and she amazes me.
yeah,
You know, not that I mean they've just excelled stuff that we'd done, and we were sort of like kind of high in our sports, but just their own personal sports. And Oscar does snowboard, and that's sort of like hiking up a mountain, and then, you know, it scares me to death where he comes
yeah,
down doing that free ride. But it just it makes me feel happy, the fact that 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 part that we could give them, we can sort of kind of see now what they're doing and how
yeah,
they've developed, and then obviously what they do now kind of career wise and things like that. It's how they learn and how, you know, what they're learning in life, and that's just
yeah,
lovely to see. What why I say it's really exciting about my next phase is because Izzy's got her company, and you know, and I see that growing and love it, and see her working so hard. And then now I've started working with
yeah,
for her company. But then I kind of feel that the reason I'm doing that is because and I know that you're the same with yours, that your passion is to know is is for them, isn't it?
yeah,
You want them to do so well, and you just you know, you love them with every bit of what they're doing, you know. And so as much as yes, I want, you know, I want my work because I want to get paid and I want to do lovely things in my life, but I also want to do work because I want to be with them and see that they're doing really well and stuff like that.
yeah,
And so I kind of think yes, my next sort of like phase about putting myself into her company as well is lovely, because I don't know where that's going to take me,
yeah,
but I'm just excited about that as well, you know.
yeah. And
So
so tell us what the company's called.
so her company's called Support Small UK,
Yeah,
and she supports small businesses to help them with with being sort of visible really
Mm.
in the world of massive companies, and there are some very skilled, passionate people about they're passionate about their business, um, and they're to get them to purchase from them and to get their the customer service, they want to please, these
Yeah,
small businesses really really want to please their customers, and they value their customers because they're like kind of smaller businesses,
yeah,
um so it's lovely, and it's because it's UK. It's, we kind of travel all around to go and help these small businesses and do these events, to get them together as well, to make them feel that they're not just on their own, because it's very lonely being in a sort of kind of solo trader, but to help them to build a little network and community with each other in small
yeah,
businesses, and to help people to shop through them, because it's lovely, it's easy, and it's great. You're getting some really great products and lovely customer service with it,
yeah,
people,
yeah,
pleasing, you're with people, they want to sort of please you with what you're buying from them.
yeah,
I love it. So yeah, so that's growing for her, and it's lovely. And obviously, she's sort of like kind of, she's very much hands-on helping these small businesses and stuff. So
mm,
really nice for her to be sort of involved with lots of other people as well. So
yeah.
that's really nice too. Yeah.
Exciting.
Exciting.
So,
Financing.
what I think is so lovely about listening to you today, Joe, is just first of all, hearing your wisdom is just delightful. But also, it kind of gives us, like, who's currently in the middle of my perimenopause, in the middle of the teenage years. I mean, I have got what I consider to be the most incredible two boys,
Oh
like
yeah.
very balanced, very open. And I do think that's because, like, I do give credit to Johnny and I, because we've done our own work.
Yep.
I've been able to hold them through their wobbles as teenagers and love them unconditionally in
Yeah.
spite of that. And because I give them that freedom and that um, space, I suppose, without judgment, without criticism,
Yeah.
they learn to move through it so much quicker.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
think it's the most incredible gift. But it started with me.
Yes, that's right. That ripple effect. Yes, right. Yeah,
Yeah, it
exactly. Yeah.
started with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so but it's really lovely to think that anybody listening, that like their life is perhaps total mayhem because their hormones and their teenage hormones,
Yeah.
it's nice to know that it doesn't last and that we survive.
Yeah, yeah, and they become beautiful young adults,
Yeah,
going on into sort of like their lives, and you can still support and be there for them. But yes, it has basically stemmed from the assessment of yourself. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because
yeah,
it makes a huge difference. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So we will put all the links for Joe in the show notes to the what is it, small
Support Small UK.
support small UK, and to the groups that you run,
Yeah,
so that people can get in contact with you if any of those appeal to them.
yeah.
Um, it's been just so lovely to chat. I mean, I love your energy so much, Joe. I always really enjoy it when we get like to
Yeah,
have a conversation, whether it's in
yeah,
person or whether it's online. So
yeah.
thank you so much, so,
Thank you for
so
having
much
me.
for coming and talking to me today. Was there anything in particular that you wanted to end with, or do you feel like you've said what you needed to say?
Well, I think yeah, I think I said what I've needed to say, but you sort of like then just sort of rounded it up by saying that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
It's a phase that we go through, but exactly the same phase that we've already been through. If you think about the fact that we've been teenagers ourselves, and
yeah,
we went through getting those hormones, starting off your cycle and things like that, and it's almost the other end. It's just things
mm,
happening again. You didn't go through those teenage years yourself and then carry on all that struggle and that stress and those and the uncertainty through your 20s and 30s. You had great 20s and 30s, but if you're going through the menopause now, you actually don't see 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds like struggling around being all sort of worried and anxious, and they actually like, they're really enjoying life.
Yeah.
So I think you just need to just remember that there that next phase again. So that self-assessment and that journaling and being um in control of you is vital. But yeah, you yeah, make it through. You definitely will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so, so much for coming
You're
and speaking to
welcome.
me today. It was absolutely gorgeous. And for everybody else, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. Mwah.